Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is Wednesday night and it's just gone 8 p.m. and I'm about to get started with a little webinar. And today we are talking about the 3 keys to successful transformations. So get yourself comfortable, make sure you've got a pen. We're going to go into some great detail with some of the stuff that I've learned over the last 8 years. And for those of you tuning in, thank you very much. If you're watching the recording, it's just as good. So get settled in, make sure you're in a comfortable spot. I'm about to get cracking. So I'm just going to wait for a few more people to join, and then we'll get going. And so this is the presentation. We're going to be looking at 3 keys to transformation. So I'm going to be shattering a few keto myths because I think a lot of people don't necessarily get results. We're going to be talking about the 4-week curse. Ooh, what does that mean? And we're going to talk about why the 2%, or talk about the 2% who make it last. Okay, so I'm going to disappear for a bit so that you have as much screen on your screen as possible. And let me hide this little banner so you can see what's on the slides. Okay, I'll see you later, and you can have the full screen to see all into the stream. That might get my sound back. All right, so we'll keep going. Sorry for those of you watching on YouTube. All right, what would you do with that time? What would you do if you managed to get healthier? Like, a lot of people say, oh, I want to lose 20 kilos, but they don't actually say like why they want to lose 20 kilos. So why do you want to lose 20 kilos? What would that be like? What clothes would you wear? And how good would you feel? So hold on to that thought, and we'll take it forward. So the first banting myth I want to address is around banting and people saying it's extreme, or people saying it's not sustainable. And I just want to touch on this because it really is a big deal. Sorry, Nick Quinn. Apparently when I hide my face, we lose the sound. So we're back in the game. Glad you can hear me now. Okay, so the big myth that we hear is banting is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. But now I want you to look at these three things. So this is actually from our marketing department. If any of you want to steal our stuff, we have obviously surveyed and analyzed, the kind of people who are interested in our product, and these are the things that our customers are experiencing when they come to us. So they are angry and introverted, and they have a lot of like emotional angst. Not to say that everyone does, but these are the kind of emotional, psychological traits that many people who come to us carry. Many people experience bloating, exhaustion, hot flushes, low libido, brittle nails, aches and pains, heartburn, blurry vision, flabby arms. These are, and then we get acne, sleep apnea, high blood pressure. So all of these conditions are conditions that our clients experience before they even come to us. They go on the diet, they start banting, and all of a sudden, many of these conditions go away. Now, the emotional experiences obviously need a different type of work, but a lot of the physical and medical conditions that people suffer from, they go away when you eat this way. And
there's no sound on your way to
no, there is not. Yeah, thank you. My wife just telling me that there's no sound. Or maybe I should start again from the beginning, but I don't know if I should. So if you want me to start from the beginning, you just drop a comment there. But so all of these conditions are reversed or have been reversed by keto. So the next question you have to ask yourself is banting or keto an extreme diet, or is the diet that everyone is eating really extreme, and that the conditions that we experience are extreme? So for me, like foggy brain, low libido, brittle nails, shortness of breath, insomnia, drowsiness, like that's not sustainable. Okay, banting is more sustainable than living like that. And so that's the first myth, is people think that, oh no, I've been put on this special diet. But is it a special diet if all you do is eat this diet and everything in your body returns back to what it was supposed to be and operates in a normal fashion? And so I believe that the biggest myth around banting is that, it's an extreme diet. I think what's extreme is the fact that 2.1 billion people in the world are obese out of the 7 billion. So that's almost a third of the Earth's population is obese. That's extreme, because there's no other species on the planet that has a third of their population obese and likely to end up chronically ill. Okay, so if anyone says, oh, banting, no, you can show them the slide and tell them to get lost. Okay, the second myth about banting is around keto and banting myths. Okay, so is around fat. So the first thing that I get, and I got this, I phoned a dietitian the other day and I was chatting to her, and I said to her, yeah, Jono, I work at Earn Real Meal Revolution, and I'd love to get your input on something. And she said, yeah, I discourage people from banting because there's so much fat. And I'm like, no, there isn't that much fat. So I have to just set the record straight. Banting is a low carb diet, first and foremost, and I'll explain in more detail. But I heard that when banting came out, people were drinking butter. In fact, there was a woman in one of the Facebook groups who said, I'm eating as much fat as I can, and I'm still not losing weight. And so what had happened was, the people had this idea that because fat was not safe to eat, we had to like eat more of it. Almost like if you have a big headache, you take 2 painkillers, but if you have like a monster headache, you take 4 painkillers. It was like, now that we're eating fat to lose weight, if we want to lose weight like faster, then we need to eat more fat. And that is totally not the right way to do it. Steve Finney, who is one of the godfathers of the ketogenic diet, he says that you should not eat any more fat than what your body can burn. And the whole point of a ketogenic diet or a low carb diet is that your body is fueled by fat, yes, but your body eats. Your body is fueled by the fat that is in your body. So if you are overweight, in other words, you're carrying stored fat, there's no point to add extra fat into your diet to keep your energy sustained, because you will be fueled by your own fat. So the way to use fat in a ketogenic diet is actually just to like top up on fat when you're hungry. But the key to ketogenic diet is actually to have a low carbohydrate, because you won't go into ketosis, or you won't actually go into fat burning mode unless your carbohydrates are low. Then you make sure you're having medium protein. You will be burning the fat of your body, and if you are still hungry, and that's the huge, massive if you are still hungry, then you top up with a little bit of fat. And I see a sad emoji, and I hope the sad emoji is because of the myth getting out there rather than the truth. So the next myth is that it is all meat. Okay. Now, when I wrote Real Meal Revolution, we wrote the list, and the list had like all of these vegetables and then some meats, and the meat section said like all animal protein was like on the green list. But then the recipe book had meat dishes, seafood dishes, and then it had some poultry dishes. And then after that, it had sides. So it had lots of vegetables, lots of salads, etc., etc. And then at the end, it had an entertaining section. And what I wrote there was pair a meat dish with a vegetable dish or a side dish. But what many people did was they took the cookbook and they said, cool, well, you know, this is a Banting meal, sumac and lime rump skewers, and that is the meal I'm going to have tonight. So a lot of people think that because the recipes in the book were meaty, that it's a meaty diet. Actually, I was totally uneducated on Banting when we wrote the book. I said, cool, we should have different meats and we should have different vegetables, and I put them all together. And so a lot of people don't actually read what's in the book. They just open the book and eat a recipe. Because of that, Banting has this reputation of being a super high protein, like meat fest diet. In fact, there was one recipe called not butter chicken, which some of you might remember, where I literally like boiled chicken into it. Well, I put chicken in a tray with butter and cream and stuck them in the oven. And I actually did the whole like calorie count per portion on that. And that's like 2,000 and something calories a portion. And that was me being a chef, being creative, just saying, oh, you know what, like if butter's not unhealthy, just put like loads of butter in the chicken and put some cream in, and it'll just be decadent and delicious. But it wasn't a recipe designed to fit someone's macros. So there was a disconnect between what the prescribed diet was and the actual recipes. The prescribed diet, the Banting diet, is the food lists. And if you look here at the food lists, you'll see that there are lots of fruits and vegetables, or lots of vegetables. Okay, there are some drinks, so caffeine-free drinks. There's fertilizers. So what we're saying here is we want you to eat fermented foods, bone broth, that kind of stuff that's really good for the gut. We want you to eat a lot of green vegetables. Then we want you to have natural fats, so not processed seed oils, real fats, butter, tallow, olive oil, nut oils, coconut oil, if you like, and then some seeds. Those are the good healthy fats that we want you to eat. And then animal proteins. But we're not saying just eat animal protein and top it up with you know, a sprinkling of butter. We want you to eat a wide variety of Banting foods. And then you can top up with like a little bit of the orange listed foods. And that's really the key. So some of the other things that have been added to Banting lately are fasting and fermented foods. That's like not from the first edition, that's happened since, because we want to focus on gut health. bone broth is obviously like a sort of, it was in the original, but we put more emphasis on it. And then, and that's the ketogenic ratio. So 20% to 30% protein, 10% fat, 10% carbs, and then this 60 to 70%, it is 60 to 70% fat, but it's not all dietary fat. Sometimes it can be like, whoa, sometimes it can be a tiny wedge of dietary fat because the rest is all fat that's coming out of your body. And that's the fat you want to burn, right? You want to burn all the body fat. Okay, so I hope I've debunked a few myths and given you a little bit of insight. The other thing I sort of forgot to mention was that I really want you to focus on the fact that everyone has their own unique response to the diet. So some people can't eat nightshades, some people can eat gluten and they're not, but they are insulin resistant, which means they can eat, sourdough, or they can eat like food that's been thickened with white flour and they won't get a gluten response, but they'll be reacting to the carbs. So sometimes, there are a few ingredients that different people move around to different lists for themselves. So the Banting is not a religion. They're more like the learning, the trainer wheels for you to find your own nutritional sweet spot or your own diet that works for you. Okay. So the 4-week curse, shattering the 4-week curse. All right. So the first thing you need to know is that in every diet company, they obviously have what we call churn. So how long does it take from someone to sign up that it takes them to cancel? Okay. How long does it take you from the day you sign up to the day you cancel? And the average for Weight Watchers International is 8 weeks. So that means the average amount of time a customer takes to give their money and commit to changing their life, to giving up and actually canceling the subscription is 8 weeks. And we've done our own research, and what we found is that it takes 4 weeks to quit the diet. 4 weeks. And then it takes you 2 weeks to kind of and ah and maybe like get back on it and decide, oh, maybe should I, shouldn't I? And then another 2 weeks to say, actually, I'm done. Because you don't just cancel the day you give up. You give up on yourself, and then you try again, and you give up on yourself, and you try again, and eventually, right at the end, you say, okay, I'm going to quit now. I'm done. I'll cancel. I'll come back to it later. Okay. And the first part of that is actually to do with memory. Okay. And what I always talk about when it comes to memory is the reason we do stuff and we continuously stay focused on our goals is because we remember them. They're at the top of our minds, at the forefront. Like I know right now, I have to give everyone the lists, as many people as possible the lists. And by the way, the link to download the lists is actually in this post, both on YouTube and on Facebook. I need to give absolutely everyone the list. So because I have this goal of 100 million people in 4 years' time, so I have that like written all over, it's all over the company, everyone at the office knows it. And so any chance I get, I've got to give people the lists. But if you don't remember what you're trying to do, like you don't remember that you want to go scuba diving with your children or you want to roll on the ground with your grandchildren, it's very difficult for you to remember that actually like eating this piece of food relates to the goal of rolling on the floor with the grandchildren. Okay, so the first guys that did some research on how adults retain information were 2 guys called Herman and Ebbinghaus, and they realized there was actually a forgetting. Herman Ebbinghaus was one dude, and he realized there's a forgetting curve. And what he found is that after 20 minutes, people forget almost 50% of the information they learn. So in 20 minutes time, we will still be in this webinar and you will have forgotten this unless you find a way to remember it. And then what he also realized was that after 31 days, less than 25% of the information was retained. So just to put that in perspective, that's like a quarter of all information. So if you read 50 books in a year, which is the personal development holy grail, 50 books a year. If you read 50 books a year, you will only remember 12 and a half of them, basically, after a whole year's gone. So you may as well read 12 and a half books, or spend less time reading and actually read them properly and actually remember all of them, or spend half the time reading and the other half the time practicing. And who knows, you might remember 80% of 25 books, which would still be double what you remember if you read 50 and you read them badly. And so this is important because it relates to how we learn and how we adapt and how we form habits. So the next part of well, the next bit of science around like learning and behavior change is that we spend way too much time actually learning and not enough time practicing. So what they found is that adults adults actually don't remember anything, as you would have seen in the previous slide. Up they only remember like 24% of what they learn after a month. And so these guys, Jennings and Fuse, they did some studying to try and figure out what the best, or what is the optimal format for adults to learn. How can we get adults to learn so that they remember absolutely everything? And what did they learn? They learned that actually you only need to spend 10% of the time you have available for learning actually learning new information. Then you need to spend 20% of that time engaging with people, learning from other people, using the information, debating the information, and getting involved, or thinking of applications for the information. So like digesting it and engaging, and 70% of the time practicing and experiencing it. So if I can give you another story, I did this health convention in 2015, or I filmed and produced the online version, but it was actually organized by Corin Thompson and Old Mutual in South Africa. But so at this convention, there were a few people who were carrying a lot of weight, and like maybe 50, 60 kilos of extra weight. And this was a convention where there were 3 days of 10 hours a day of lectures. And so these people obviously like desperate to lose weight, and they were sitting there like sitting through all of these lectures. So they did 20, whatever it was, so 10 hours over 3 days, so 30 hours of lectures. But I've just taught you how to do the Banting diet in 3 minutes. And so if you have like that much weight to lose, or if you have any amount of weight to lose, all you need to know is what to do. And by Jennings and Fuse standards, the best thing you can do is learn a little bit, so the fundamentals and the basics, and then spend 20% of your time speaking to other people about how they do the basics. What do you do? What works for you? And then spend the other 70% of the time actually practicing doing the basics. And so I know a lot of people who think, okay, I'm going to start a diet now, and then they go and watch every video on YouTube by Eric Westman, every video on YouTube by Steve Finney. They go down the Tim Noakes algorithm. Then they also get stuck into all the people who are debating against Banting. And eventually, 3 weeks down the line, they've had their first Banting meal. And it happens to our clients who take our online course as well. So the most important thing is that you do less learning and more doing. And the reason I say that isn't so that it isn't so that you stop learning. It's just that you could actually spend more time in your life doing other stuff, because your life's bigger than just your diet or just your hobbies. You could be out socializing with friends. And I think that when we take on this personal development journey, we start thinking that we owe it to ourselves to read and to learn more and everything. And I say, learn a little bit, enough to give you something to practice, and then practice it until you absolutely know it and it's embedded into your mind and your body and it's become a habit. And then learn the next thing, unless you really enjoy reading, in which case you should continue. But this is what the science says. This is my opinion. This is what the science says. Okay. So far we've debunked the myths. I told you how to do Banting. Told you how adults learn. And the final part of the equation is really about getting over that 4-week hump. So what is it about people that makes them quit 4 weeks in? And so this is a big deal. It still happens to me in areas where I don't set goals properly, but these pictures are here to illustrate 4 things that you will have already done. So that's the school I went to in Cape Town. This is the University of Cape Town. I'm not a pilot, but this is people doing a job, because I'm sure most of you watching this have a job or have had a job. And this is a picture of some moms hanging out in a circle. And I'm assuming there are a lot of moms out there, or a lot of parents. And having a job, being a parent, going to university and going to school, I would imagine if any of you are watching this, you will have done one of these 4 things successfully. Okay. And if you're watching this, the chances are that you have lost weight before, but put it back on, or that you have tried to lose weight and quit. Okay. And if that's the case, you need to pay attention, because if I want you to ask yourself the question, if you were at school and you were in grade 8, so standard 6 for those of you who are my vintage, if you were in grade 8 and someone came to you and said, all right, here are 8 textbooks. Next year, there are 10 textbooks. In grade 10 or standard 8, they're going to be another 12 textbooks. And then for matric, you're going to have another 12 textbooks. In 5 years' time, in November, I want you to know everything in these books so that you can write exams and deliver presentations. You're on your own. I'll see you in 5 years. How many of you in real life think that you would have just sat down, done all the work, done all the practice, learned a thing or two, and rocked up in 5 years' time and written your final matric exams? I can guarantee you, and leave a comment if you are watching, because I'm very interested to see if anyone thinks that they could have done that. Then the next question is, if you went to university and they gave you the same treatment, here are 30 textbooks. In 3 years' time, I would like you to write these exams and hand in these proposals. We're not going to help you. No one's going to lecture you. You're not going to have any classmates. Just go off and do it on your own. The same thing again when you start your first day at work. Imagine you walked into your first day at work and your boss said to you, all right, there's your desk. Don't talk to anyone. Don't ask me any questions. Here's the manual. Read the manual, do your job. And if you do your job, you'll get paid. How many of you think that you would make it past month 1? And finally, if you didn't know any other parents, or you didn't have parents, and you didn't know anyone else who had kids, how much harder would it have been to keep your child alive? How long would it have taken you to know what to do? What would the experience have been like of being a parent, not knowing what other parents have done when you're trying to raise the child? Okay, it would have been hell. And I can guarantee you, you wouldn't have gotten through school, you wouldn't have gotten through university, you wouldn't have had a job, and you would have had major problems having children. But these are all things that are incredibly difficult to do. It's incredibly difficult information to absorb. It's difficult to do a job. It is very hard to be a parent. But if you're watching this and you've done one of these things, you have done something incredibly difficult. So why were you able to finish school, get a degree, get a job, and have a child, or have a child, but you haven't been able to lose weight? And the difference is because at school, you had a few things that you don't have on your weight loss journey. At university, you had a few things you didn't have on your weight loss journey. The same thing at work, and the same thing with raising children. And that is there are 5 things that we have figured out that you absolutely need to have a successful weight loss transformation. And so sorry, the slides were broken, but basically you need to have a very clear goal. At school, the goal's clear. Finish school. Finish the exams at the end of school. At university, it's the same. Get to the end of university, get your degree. At work, it's the same. It's like, keep your job. What do I need to do to keep my job? And if you're ambitious, what do I need to do to get promoted? And so you have this very clear goal. And the same thing with parenting. It's like, have the children stay alive, keep them alive. How do we do that? So there is a goal that has absolute clarity. And then the next thing you have is community. So I said people you tell. So now I'm at school. I've got people outside of school who all know. My parents told everyone that I'm going to school. Obviously, they're really proud. Everyone at work, you tell your mates you've got a job. Everyone knows you've got a job. So there's this community aspect saying, okay, we know what Jono's up to. He's at school now. Oh, that's very cute. Jono's got a new job. We're so proud of him. Jono's been studying chef school. Oh, he just loves to cut carrots. You know, Jono's a dad now. So there's this community element around us. Even if we're not doing it or they're not helping, there are other people in our lives who know what we're doing. Okay. The next element is that at school, at university, at your work, And as a parent, you will join other people. Unless you're homeschooling, you're going to have other parents who are parenting their children. Even if you're homeschooling these days, you're going to have other homeschooling parents online who are all communicating. When I was at school, there were 30 people in my class. When I was at chef school, there were 30 people in my class. And at my first job, I had like 8 people in the kitchen with me. We had this community together. Even at CrossFit, they say, oh, suffering builds community. But doing the work together and seeing other people doing it gives you this sense of community. You're not alone and you're not an island. And so that's really, really important, to have other people who you're on the journey with, you can learn with. And if you remember the previous slide where I spoke about collaboration, you go to class, but the rest of the time when you're not at class, you're doing the work. And at varsity, it's a tuck group. At work, it's a meeting, death by meeting. As a parent, you're just having lunch and shooting the breeze. So all of these things apply to all of these different things. And finally, or semi-finally, penultimately, there are people we ask for help. So at school, you've got teachers guiding you. At varsity, they're lecturers. At work, you've got your boss. You've got someone saying, do it like this. And you know what? Like, if it's your new job, someone telling you to do it like that is a good thing. There are different levels of bosses, and some of them are great at that. Some of them suck. And as a parent, you have other parents. You've got older kids. There are people who've written books. There are people there who can tell you how. And finally, often, it's difficult to make university and study and school about someone else. But usually by the time you're in university, you plan on having children one day, you want to get married, you support a family. And so there is part of you that is being selfless about the pursuit. You are actually one day going to help other people with your skills. And that's where it comes into the workplace. When you get a job, you are helping someone. There is no business that doesn't have a customer. And at the end of the day, if you're working for a business, even if you're working for a government or an NGO or a business, basically if you have a job, you're selling your service to someone, which means you are helping someone. And so there is a purpose behind your existence. And obviously as a parent, it's super simple. Keep the child alive. The purpose of you being a parent is to keep the child alive and have it live in a thriving life. So there's absolute accountability. And so these are the 5 things that exist in all of these things that you have done or achieved that are really difficult, okay? Really difficult. And so I'm curious for all of those watching, if you are on a weight loss journey or you have tried to lose weight before, whether these 5 things were in place when you started out on your journey. Did you have a very clear goal? Was it clear, like finish school, get a degree? Did you tell people about it? Or did you think, no, I don't want to tell people because I'll be embarrassed when I fail? Or did you tell people and say, geez, I'm terrified of failing. Like, please, actually, don't give me this bag ball when I come around. You know, did other people know what you were doing? Did they even know it was on the agenda for you? Did you have anyone else you could talk to about the problems that you were having when you were on the diet? Did you ask anyone for help? Was there anyone on your weight loss journey who you could turn to and say, flip, man, I am struggling. What can I do? I don't know. I'm punching above my weight. And then was it about helping anyone else? Did you want to look good in the mirror? Or did you think, how will my family benefit if I actually do this thing? Or how will the other people in my group benefit if I become successful and have a successful transformation? So these 5 things are actually what I call the summons, because when you have them all in place, you actually get like locked into your transformation, and it's almost like being served a summons from the court. It's like, you've got to show up. You've got to show up. Unless you're Zoomer, you've got to show up for a summons when you get served. And if you have these 5 things in place, you show up, and you show up every day, and you get the results just like you did at school or as a parent. So this is vital. And that's how to break the 4-week curse and crush it all the way through. But the last slide really brings it all together. And this is also something that not many of us really think about when we go into goals. I'm guilty of it myself. But the 2% who make it last, they do a few things differently. Okay. The first thing they do is that they set realistic goals. So they don't say, oh, I'm going to do a triathlon in 3 months' time. What they do is they break their goals down into edible chunks. So any of you who lived through 2020 will know that planning a year ahead a year in advance these days is totally unrealistic. Planning 3 months in advance is realistic. You can see the end. It's a long enough period of time for you to say, like, to actually put a dent into something you're focusing on. It's a short enough period of time for you to be able to see the ending. And it's enough time for you to do what Jennings and Fuse say, which is spend 10% of the time learning a little book, 20% of the time collaborating, 70% of the time, like 10 weeks practicing or 9 weeks practicing whatever you're doing, and then regrouping. So after those 12 weeks, you actually regroup. And so the 2% of the people who make it last, they don't think about it as like I just need to lose all this weight and then my life will be over. They look at their life as a continuous progression. So they realize they have to incorporate health into their identity. And then they work at just improving X amount of health in the beginning, and then another chunk of health and another chunk of health. And once they hit their goal weight, they continue to progress into, further personal development practices. So no one whose only goal is weight loss gets their goal and stops worrying about their weight and then carries on with life like nothing happened. The pursuit of health is an endless pursuit. And once you become healthy, you end up looking into mental health, your relationship health, your financial health. But it's a personal development journey. It is not a diet journey. And the process works in these 12-week cycles. So this is how the people who win do it. And this isn't like this isn't me just like making it up. This is what the science says. So that's how it works. So if you want to make it work, you have to bite it down into edible chunks, not try and eat the whole elephant at once, and then work in a 12-week rotation. So, okay. For those of you who have learned a thing or two, that's amazing. And I'm really grateful that I was able to help you. And the question I ask at this point, because I don't want it to be sleazy, is like, I have a package that I would like to present to you. So I'd like to sell you something, and it does actually bring all of the stuff that we've been speaking about together. You can do everything that I have mentioned on your own without our help, and you can go and get yourself a coach and a group of people, and set it all up yourself. But that's actually what Real Meal Revolution does. And so I would like to offer you a special deal for watching this video. And so if just one person comments in the comments and says, yes, Jono, go ahead, sell us the dream, then I'll go for it. Come on. Is my mic off? Okay. So the deal I wanted to explain to you was, and so what's really important is that, yay, Kim says yes. Okay, what's really important is that Real Meal developed all of the products in response to customers. Danielle, you make me laugh. So we developed all of the products and services we have to cater for what people need, not the other way. So often what happens, you develop a product and you say, okay, we're going to sell it, and this is the story we're going to put behind it to sell it. So we actually developed that summons where I said people you join, people you ask for help, etc., etc. Like I developed that in 2015 when I was writing Banting 2.0. And so over the years, we thought like, okay, well, how can we structure it? And finally, about a year ago, we developed this model that I'm going to show you now. Okay. And so what it is, it's called the Hero Program. Okay, we love superheroes, and we believe that everyone is their own hero. And so the Hero Program so we know that groups work, but groups that are too big can be overwhelming, and people lose intimacy, and they don't feel comfortable sharing. Groups that are too small, there's just not enough vibe. So we've realized that a group of 5 people is like the sweet spot for a group. We know that everyone needs help and mentoring, especially mentoring. So we found that coaching works really well in certain instances, like in a one-on-one environment. But a group does really well when there's someone in the group who's actually got the results. Okay, so they have lost the weight. So it's not just like a dietitian giving you the medical advice, which is necessary, but you're learning from someone who has actually done it. Okay, so we have this group program where you get 5 clients in a group. And then there's actually a coach like delivering or managing the program who has done it. They talk the talk, they walk the walk. Okay. Then what happens in this group environment is every 2 weeks you have an in-depth meeting, and the coach facilitates this meeting, and everyone gets an opportunity to ask a few questions about or to present like what's happening that they're dealing with. So, you know, if you can imagine stuff's in the way, parents or family stuff or whatever, like how, and then what happens is everyone else in the group gets an opportunity to share. So there's this, if you think 5 people in a room, each person shares, and each person shares their experience of that share, you walk away with 25 nuggets of advice in one sort of workshop. It's amazing. You can't get that like anywhere. So those meetings are super powerful. And then at the end of that meeting, you all decide on what your goal is just for the next 2 weeks. So you're breaking it down into serious little chunks. And then your coach and the rest of your team, you check in with each other every day. So what you've done is you've taken your long-term goal of whatever, lose 30 kilos, you've broken it down to what you can lose in 12 weeks, which could be, or what you can achieve in 12 weeks, which could be like 12 kilos or 6 kilos or whatever it is. And you write that down, and then you break that down into even smaller chunks of 2 weeks. And then even between those 2 week chunks, you check in every single day. So it's like, did you do the thing that you wanted to do? Or, hey, I did the thing I wanted to do. I'm in a group now. I had roast chicken and broccoli for supper. I shared it with my group. So then they know I'm banting because I have a sugar addiction I'm trying to control. I'm human too. Okay. You get results. So we do get 100% guaranteed. If you're watching this and you're on the program and didn't get results, email me, we'll give you your money back. If you join and you're not happy with the program, we'll give you your money back. That's how it works. Okay. So that program sells for 2,950 Rand. And I am going to sell you that program, but I'm going to sweeten the deal, because with this program, okay, that's a picture of a classic Zoom meeting, and that's our coach Sam and some peeps in the meeting. And that sort of happens every 2 weeks. And then this is an example of the kind of like WhatsApp conversation that happens. People do fasting if they want, and then they check in with their fasting screenshots. If you're tracking on our meal tracker, you can share meal tracker screenshots. And that's a picture of my, it's not mine, but I think it's my recipe. That's bacon wrapped onions cooked in delicious cream. That was someone just saying, hey, look at my supper tonight. So this is the kind of like banter. And what you don't see in here is like all the other stuff, because you end up just like having a deposit where you can throw like everything you're doing every day into this little group where someone listens and high fives you. It's amazing. So this is the daily group engagement, and that's really where the results come from. But over and above the hero package or the hero program, which is this intense like support package, we offer you 3 months access to our web app, and web app subscribers get all of our meal plans, all of our recipes, like a dashboard where you can track your journey. You can monitor your blood glucose and your blood pressure and your abdominal circumference and your weight and all of these things. We have all of the recipes I've ever written, which is like 650 keto recipes with shopping lists. This is like a full service transformation management dashboard. So you'll get access to that for 3 months. And then with that web app subscription, we have weekly workshops. So every Friday we have workshops, and we have Bridget Surtees, my co-author in Raising Superheroes, which is this blue book behind me. And she's a registered dietitian, and she obviously specializes in low carb. And she does an education session every Friday morning. I do a mindset coaching session every Friday morning where I talk about this kind of stuff, like mindset and learning or whatever. And then clinical psychologist Victoria Webster, who is a legend, she runs an eating psychology workshop every Friday at 1 p.m. And so this stuff literally will blow your mind. She talks about the connection between your relationships and shame and all of that stuff I was speaking about in the far left-hand column of one of the earlier slides. We was talking about the myths of banting. So she will address like all of the stuff that we deal with that we don't talk about, and she gives a talk on it. And the light bulbs popping when people watch these talks is amazing. So you get these for free as part of this deal, 12 at 400 Rand a piece or whatever. It comes with the package. And so I just want to stack that up for you: the hero program, the web app, the dietitian Q&A sessions, and the mindset workshops. So that totals 15 grand. This is a fact. This is not an Americanized fake like sales pitch. That really is what it's worth, and that's what it comes up to. And so I'm going to actually sweeten it even more just now, but I just wanted to show you Tessa, who's one of our coaches. This is what she said: the impact of the programs I've done with RMR allowed me to develop my self-confidence in a way that will serve me for the rest of my life. And then another client of ours, Margie Hackett, and I think her daughter's watching. I am no longer food obsessed, and I now enjoy socializing, focusing on the experience rather than the food at the table. Imagine that was your experience. What would that be like? So the last thing, one of the flagship products that we have is actually the online course. And so the online course is a 12-week online course, and if you don't finish 12 weeks, we extend it for you, so don't worry about that. But it's basically, it's a guide on how to do the diet properly. And then it has about 24 lectures from experts on eating psychology and on diet that you can watch in your own time or on a weekly basis. And this online course is the flagship product. We've had it running. In fact, this was the product we launched the company on in 2014 in October. And it's reiterated and reiterated. And this is the program that runs in conjunction with a series of emails that send you reminders and a whole bunch of other useful stuff to drive your ketogenic journey. And so we are including this in the deal. So basically, you get your full service support, you get your group and your coach, you get 3 months on the app, you get all of these workshops every Friday with a psychologist and a dietitian, and you get a 12-week course, which you can extend if you don't finish it, because obviously there's a lot to do here. If you can't attend the lectures, we do send the lecture recordings that get uploaded onto YouTube. We send them out every Friday afternoon with a recap of everything that's happened at Real Meal. So it's worth a ton. And basically, we are selling it today for $3,950. That's the package deal, and with that you get everything. So Wendy, or actually, I see Real Meal Revolutions posted a link to it, and it says the Hero Bundle. So if you are in the comments, you can go for that Hero Bundle, and then I'm just going to spend 15 minutes answering any questions. So I've got a few standard FAQ that come up when I'm giving this presentation, which I will go through. But if you do have questions, just post them in the comments and I will answer them for you. So thank you very much for listening so far. If you do want to take the deal, go for it. So after you pay, we will add you to a WhatsApp group. I mean, it's quite late tonight, so I think you can join it from the course, but if not, we'll add you to a WhatsApp group tomorrow. The next group that we're taking starts on Thursday, but usually we start on the first Thursday of every May, and sales close on the first Tuesday of every month. So sorry, the first Thursday of every month, and sales close on the first Tuesday. So you can join, but basically you'll join a WhatsApp group, and in that WhatsApp group, we'll give you all the information you need to get ready for the program. You will get access to all of the stuff that I've mentioned on the left. So you'll get access to your online course. In the online course, there'll be a link for you to activate your 3 months to the free web app. You'll be able to register for the workshops on Friday, and you'll get everything you need to know about the Hero program. So that's what happens after you pay. Can't I just count calories? So some of these questions aren't about the program, they're just about the diet. So you can just count calories. The only problem is that different calories have a different impact on your metabolism. So if I eat, 1,200 calories of sugar, I'm going to get super hungry and I'm not going to get the right amount of nutrition that my body needs. If you eat, say, for instance, it's 1,500 calories of meat, you might get a lot more nutrients, but you would also get, you'd be low on, say, vitamin C, depending on whether or not you're eating liver. So calories, they do serve a purpose because they give you an idea of how much energy you're consuming, but they're not actually a really good indication of the quality of food you're eating. So we actually tell people to count their carbs, When Bridget does a prescription, she tells people that they need to watch their carbs and keep an eye on their protein, and then just top up with fat. But she'll only look at calorie count if you're like putting on weight to see like, okay, well, what are you doing wrong there? So counting calories is not that important. How long does the program last? Okay, so let's just go through those programs. So the 3-month hero group, with some of our programs we charge monthly, but with the hero group, because you're in a group and because the group format is so important, it's critical that, you know, what you're paying for is the 4 other people in your group to be there. And so when someone else pays for the group and you leave, you're actually like robbing that person of what they're paying for. So we only accept a 3-month upfront payment for this program. It's by design. We know that we would get more customers if we made it monthly, but we also know that more customers would cancel just because, you know, people tend to cancel that. So the idea is you pay upfront, you commit, and then you do the 3 months because the payment's out of the way. There's no like thinking about whether or not I'm going to stay. It's done, and the program's designed like that. But it's 3 months, and it renews every 3 months unless you cancel. The web app, after your free trial and your 3 months are over, you can pay monthly for as long as you like. It's 200 Rand a month. The mindset workshops are included in your online course fee, and the online course fee is that you can pay off monthly if you buy it separately, obviously. But if you buy it in this, it's as part of the deal, and that lasts 3 months initially. But if you haven't managed to get through all the content, we can extend your access to the online course for another 3 months with no problem at all. You just email support@realmealrevolution.com, and Wendy and Vanessa, who you see in the comments, are there. So what next? What happens when it finishes? So when you finish the hero program, you automatically renew for the next one. So it's actually a quarterly subscription. So with the hero program, and our retention is incredible. People love it. They do it. I was speaking to people over the weekend, trying to get information and some feedback, and I think our rate is like 85% or 80%. I think it's 80 something, but basically 80% or more people who do the program do it again, which is outrageous, especially because it's, you know, it requires a lot of investment of time, and they just love it. They fall in love with the process. So when it finishes, you can cancel if you like, but if you want to continue, go for it. The online course, when it finishes, you can extend. Otherwise, you just finish that. And the web app, you can stay a member of the web app as long as you like, even if you finish the hero program and the online course. That's no problem. And when you stay a member of the web app, you continue access to the workshops, and we'll mix those workshops up as well. So, do I need any supplements or other stuff? You don't need supplements. When Bridget prescribes a ketogenic diet, she recommends you have magnesium and vitamin D3, and I think that's it. Vitamin D3 and magnesium to start off with for the first month. We do recommend you have bone broth and collagen, but that's and salt. You know, even if you just drink salt water, but bone broth and salt water are there to replenish you with sodium, because when you lose the initial water weight, when you go ketogenic, you actually flush like a lot of minerals and water out of your body. So you do need to take salt, but that's just part of you adapting to the new way of fueling your body. And magnesium will help you with some of the other side effects, which some people don't even experience. There Marina says, I can attest to the success of the program format. Great advice, loads of fun, and new friends too, not to mention the weight loss. I will be renewing when this hero session's goals have been achieved. That's Marina. You are a legend, Marina. Thank you. Okay. When will I see results? So, I mean, on a ketogenic diet, you will see results in the first few days. In fact, usually the first week is when you get dramatic results, or the second week, because your first few days you are adapting. So your body is trying to work out like what the hell's going on, because it's not getting carbs anymore, and so it needs to switch over into this new fueling state. And so when you switch over into the new fueling state, you flush a lot of water. So in the first couple weeks, people can lose up to 4 kilos Not to say that you will, but some people lose 4 kilos. I know some people who've lost 6, but then some people lose 1 or 2. So you see results very quickly. And then the results sort of like slow. And we say that you average about 500 grams to a kilo a week. Some people can lose more than that, but it also depends on how strict you are, or how well your body responds, how many times you've been on a diet. There are a whole lot of other factors, also like medication. I know that there are a few antidepressants and a few sleeping pills that impact your weight loss. So, on average, we guarantee 500 grams a week, but you can lose much more than that. I spoke to a guy yesterday who started with a lot of extra weight, and he's lost I think 37 kilos in the last 6 weeks, but he started at over 200 kilos. What happens if I don't see results? Okay, so if you don't see results, this is when you troubleshoot with your group. So obviously you're in touch with everyone every single day, and you would just share. So every Wednesday at Real Meal, we have weigh in Wednesday. And so when you weigh in and you don't get results, that can be quite disappointing. And when you are disappointed, that's the perfect time to share, because everyone is going to be there and say, okay, cool, like let's talk, like what happened, was it working, wasn't it working? Your coach might get involved and ask you different questions. How, should we track your meals, or should we maybe book a consultation with Bridget, our dietitian? But there are a whole lot of questions that we ask a client when they're not losing weight. I must say, it doesn't very often happen that someone's compliant. In other words, they follow all the rules and everything, and they don't lose weight. But when that does happen, we take it very seriously, and that goes straight to the coach or the support desk. So we got you back if you're not getting results, definitely. How much weight can I lose? So in theory, you could lose, enough to get down to your ideal medical body weight. That also depends on how strict you're willing to be. And yeah, so, it doesn't matter what your weight is, you should be able to return to a natural weight. Usually when you've gone over 30% of your body's natural ideal medical weight, your fat cells multiply. So what happens is it becomes harder for you to get down to your medical ideal weight. So we do have a factor that gives you a buffer. So like if your normal medical ideal body weight was going to be 70 kilograms, then but you at some point like weighed 110, then that might push your base ideal medical body weight, your medical ideal body weight, up to like 75 or 78 or something. So your base might be slightly higher. But then there are people I know who've lost like 80 kilograms and gotten to be quite skinny. So they were like a guy I know, Brian. He went from, I think it was like 100, and I know he lost 78 kilograms. So he went from like 160 or 155 to like in the 70s, and he was skinny, like super skinny. So you can get really, really close to what your medical ideal weight is. Okay, can I choose my own coach? Yes, you can. So if you do know the coaches and you know which coach is running groups, you can choose your own coach. What we also do is our sales team, when they're speaking to people who are going to sign up, we get a feel for what they're looking at. And we also ask like how much weight you have to lose, like how old you are. And we try and put you with people who are at the same stage of the journey, or, depending on what the vibe is. Sometimes we mix it up and say, okay, well, if you want to be with people who are much more advanced to give you a rev, then that's what you need. Some people like to be in a group of like-minded people. So the group allocation thing is something we take very seriously. Our coordinator is quite particular about who goes with who. Do I have to exercise? Oh, my favorite question. You do not need to exercise to lose weight. If you exercise, you'll become hungry, and hunger is not good for weight loss. But if you have lost a lot of weight and you will begin to feel like exercising, in which case, please exercise if you would like to exercise. But exercise is not part of the program. Okay, that is critical. It is not part of the program. But you can say, like, when you're setting your fortnightly goal, you can say, I would like to exercise. And people will be like, yay, go and exercise. But you don't have to do it. When does this start? So I said earlier, it starts on the first Thursday of every month. That's the welcome session or the orientation session. And then the second week of every month is when you will start your first group. And obviously it runs for 3 months. And what if I have high cholesterol? So at Real Meal, we don't really subscribe to the old cholesterol dogma that total cholesterol is an accurate indicator for coronary heart disease. There is some, so I'm just repeating what the science, I have been told the science is. So I'm a chef, and please don't take my word as gospel. Do your own research. But if you do have high cholesterol, find a doctor who recommends Banting. What I do know is that what is important in your cholesterol isn't the total cholesterol, it is the particle size. So you need high HDL, low LDL. And what happens is you get a light fluffy or big fluffy LDL and a small dense LDL. And if you have a high count of the small dense LDL, that is a problem. And so the only way you really know if your cholesterol is a problem is if you've got a particle size test. And so if you have that as a problem, then I think it is a problem. But as far as I know, if you want to speak to our dietitian about high cholesterol, she'll tell you how it is. Do I have to eat 3 meals a day? Actually, you don't have to eat any meals a day. So we definitely subscribe to fasting. A lot of the ladies who you've seen commenting on the post, they are avid fasters, and so we've had people fast for, you don't have to fast, by the way, but we've had people fasting for 24 hours. I know in one of my groups when I started out was 72 hours. Our program coordinator just finished a 5-day fast where she ran 160 kilometers over 5 days while she was in a fasted state, which I'm still trying to get my head around. But the reason she did that was to prove, so that was Sam Bell, by the way, if anyone's not sure. And Sam, she did that because she wanted to prove that you do not need fat to fuel your body. I mean, you do not need carbohydrates to fuel your body when you exercise, and you do not need to eat before or after you exercise. So they went 5 days, which is very extreme. I do not want you to join the program so you can do a 5-day, 160-kilometer fast, please. But the point is that she finished. She's in great shape. Her skin's better than ever. Mental clarity. It's amazing. And so what she was trying to prove was that fasting is not dangerous or unhealthy. It's actually good for you. And so you do not need to eat 3 meals a day. If you want, you don't need to eat any meals a day. And if you're not hungry, why should you eat? When animals in the wild aren't hungry, they don't eat. Do I really have to eat all that fat? I think I addressed that earlier on in the talk. You do not need to eat all that fat. You just need to eat until you're not hungry anymore. And any other questions? So at this point, if there are any other questions, shoot. We've got a bit of time left. I just want to give a shout out to Janine Honeyman. Best decision I ever made was joining the program. Thank you, RMI team. Great. Should I work out? Offensive. Thanks for the question. No, as I just said, no, you do not need to work out. Nick Quinn, I hope you're still watching. And cool. Well, I'm going to wrap it up, everyone. Thank you so much for paying attention. There are a few of you who've been here all the way from the beginning, and I appreciate I appreciate you staying all the way to the end. It's been a pleasure. So if you're watching this recording, the link to take the bundle is in the comments. And if you get stuck or you want to ask any questions, just email support@realmealrevolution.com. And yeah, I look forward to welcoming you onto the program. And thank you so much for joining me. Have a lucky evening, everyone. Bye.